Listening to stories is a powerful way to improve English. It enhances pronunciation, vocabulary, and comprehension while helping you understand natural speech patterns. Stories also train your brain to think in English, making speaking and listening more fluent and confident. By immersing yourself in storytelling, you learn effortlessly and enjoy the process. So, without further ado, let's start with the story. The train moved smoothly across the European countryside, the rhythmic sound of its wheels filling the air. Inside, a young American man named Jesse sat near the window, lost in thought. He had an air of quiet intensity, his messy hair and tired eyes giving away the long journey he had been on. Across the aisle, a young French woman named Céline was reading a book. Her sharp, intelligent eyes flickered over the pages, but she seemed distracted, as if her mind was elsewhere. The peaceful atmosphere inside the train was suddenly broken by a loud argument between an older couple. Their voices rose, filled with frustration and years of unresolved tension. Jesse and Céline both looked up, their eyes meeting for the first time. They shared a small, knowing smile, a silent acknowledgement of the absurdity of the situation. It was in that moment that Jesse took a chance. He turned slightly towards her and spoke, his voice warm but unsure. "Do you have any idea what they're arguing about?" he asked, his American accent clear. Céline smiled, closing her book. "No, but I can guess. Probably something small that became something big over time." They started talking, at first, cautiously, then more openly. Jesse was on his way to Vienna, where he had to catch a flight back to the United States. Céline was returning to Paris after visiting her grandmother. As they spoke, something in the air changed. The conversation flowed easily, as if they had known each other forever. They talked about life, love, and the strange ways people connect. Time passed quickly, and soon the train was approaching Vienna. Jesse hesitated before speaking, his voice tinged with nervous excitement. "I have an idea. Why don't you get off the train with me? Just for one night. Walk around Vienna with me. No expectations, just let's see what happens." Céline laughed softly, considering his offer. It was reckless, unpredictable, but also thrilling. Something inside her told her to take the risk. With a deep breath, she nodded. "Okay." They stepped off the train into the crisp evening air of Vienna, their adventure beginning. The city stretched out before them, unfamiliar yet inviting. Jesse suggested they start walking, and without hesitation, Céline agreed. The streets were bathed in the golden glow of streetlights, and the air carried the scent of fresh pastries and distant music. As they wandered through the city, their conversations deepened. They spoke about childhood memories, past relationships, and their fears for the future. Jesse, with his philosophical mind, questioned the meaning of life and love, while Céline, with her poetic soul, spoke about the beauty of small moments. Their words wove together like a dance, each revealing more of themselves with every step. They visited a record store, listening to music in a small booth. As a soft, melancholic song played, they stole glances at each other, their eyes speaking a language beyond words. In that tiny space, surrounded by music and silence, something unspoken passed between them, a promise of something neither of them fully understood yet. Outside, they found a small cafe, where an old man offered to write a poem for them based on a single word they gave him. Jesse and Céline looked at each other before choosing the word milkshake. The poet smiled and began writing, and when he read the poem aloud, they felt as if he had captured the essence of their fleeting connection. The night continued, filled with moments of laughter, wonder, and an undeniable pull towards each other. At a park, Jesse convinced Céline to pretend they were calling their best friends, describing the night as if it had already passed. With playful sincerity, they spoke about meeting someone incredible, someone who made them feel truly seen. Their voices held a mix of joy and sadness, knowing that this moment, as magical as it was, could not last forever. They found a carnival, riding the Ferris wheel as the city sparkled below them. At the highest point, Jessie looked at Celine and hesitated for a moment before leaning in. Their lips met in a soft, hesitant kiss, the world around them fading away. It was the kind of kiss that carried the weight of everything unspoken, a fragile yet powerful connection in the middle of the night. As they continued wandering through the city, they stumbled upon a small, dimly lit bar where a local musician played the violin. The melody was hauntingly beautiful, filling the space with an air of nostalgia. They sat in a quiet corner, sipping on warm tea as they listened. Jessie traced circles on the table absent-mindedly. "Do you believe in soulmates?" he asked suddenly. Celine tilted her head, thinking, "I don't know. Maybe not in the way movies show it, but I believe some people come into your life for a reason, even if it's just for one night." Jessie nodded. "Yeah, maybe that's enough sometimes." They left the bar and walked to a quiet courtyard where an old stone fountain stood. The sound of water trickling down the fountain mixed with the distant hum of the city. Jessie climbed onto the edge of the fountain, balancing with his arms stretched out. "If I fall, you'll catch me, right?" he joked. Celine laughed and held out her hands. "Of course." He pretended to stumble, falling forward just enough for her to grab him. Their laughter filled the night air, echoing against the stone walls. They wandered further and found a small open square where a street performer was juggling torches. The fire flickered in the night, illuminating their faces as they watched in awe. Jessie took Celine's hand instinctively, and she squeezed his in return, neither speaking but both feeling the connection deepening. They danced slowly to the music of a violinist nearby, their steps light and unpracticed, but in perfect harmony. As dawn approached, they sat by the river, watching the sky shift from deep blue to soft pink. The weight of time pressed on them, the reality of morning stealing away the dreamlike quality of their night. They both knew what was coming. Jessie had to leave, and Celine had to return to Paris. Neither wanted to say goodbye, but they also knew they had no choice. Jessie suggested exchanging phone numbers, but Celine hesitated. She feared that trying to make something permanent would ruin the perfection of what they had just experienced. Instead, they made a pact. They would meet at the same place in 6 months. No letters, no calls, just trust. As they parted, they looked at each other one last time, memorizing every detail. The train station loomed ahead, and with one final glance, Jessie boarded his train. Celine stood on the platform, watching as he disappeared into the distance. The night had been brief, but it had changed them both. Two strangers who had shared a perfect moment, a night filled with connection, wonder, and the bittersweet beauty of knowing that some things are meant to remain untouched by time. As the city woke up around her, Celine smiled softly, carrying the memory of Jessie with her, just as he carried hers across the ocean.